The restaurant hummed softly with the chatter of couples, the clinking of glasses, and the scent of freshly baked bread floating through the air. Soft jazz played in the background, but to Ethan, every note sounded like the ticking of a clock, reminding him that he'd been sitting alone for 45 minutes. The flickering candle on the table cast a warm glow on the empty chair across from him, its untouched glass of water reflecting his own lonely face. He tried to smile, to pretend he wasn't the guy who'd been stood up on a blind date, but the ache in his chest made that impossible. He had dressed his best. Pressed shirt, neat jacket, even the cologne he hadn't worn since his last anniversary, years ago. It wasn't just about meeting someone new. It was about daring to believe that maybe, just maybe, life still had a little warmth left for him. But now, that hope was cooling fast, like the untouched coffee beside him. Ethan sighed, checked his watch again, and told himself it was fine. She wasn't coming. Maybe it was for the best. Maybe some people just weren't meant for second chances. He reached for his jacket, ready to leave, when a tiny voice startled him. "Are you Mr. Ethan?" He turned. Standing by the table was a little girl, no more than 6, with a head full of soft black curls and the biggest brown eyes he'd ever seen. She was holding a small stuffed bunny by one ear, wearing a yellow dress that swayed when she shifted nervously. Ethan blinked. "Yes, that's me." The little girl smiled, showing a gap where one of her front teeth used to be. "My mommy's sorry she's late," she said, voice bright and sincere. "She said to tell you she'll be here real soon." Before Ethan could respond, the girl climbed up onto the chair across from him, the chair that had been empty just moments ago, and set her bunny on the table like it was part of the conversation. He stared, uncertain whether to laugh or be completely bewildered. "Your mommy sent you to tell me that?" "Yes," she said proudly. "She said, you go sit with Mr. Ethan and be polite." "So I'm being polite." Ethan chuckled despite himself. "You're doing a great job." She grinned, swinging her feet. "Do you like bunnies?" And just like that, the tension in his shoulders melted. Her name, he learned, was Ava. She told him between bites of bread that she loved drawing, hated broccoli, and wanted to be a sky doctor, which, after some confusion, turned out to mean a pilot. Every few sentences, she'd glance toward the entrance, her excitement mixed with hope. Ethan found himself asking questions, laughing, listening. For the first time that night, he forgot he'd come to meet someone else. Ava filled the silence that had felt so heavy, turning it into something light and genuine. When her mother finally arrived, breathless, beautiful, and apologetic, it was like watching a storm calm itself into sunlight. "I'm so sorry," she said, rushing to the table. "The babysitter canceled last minute, and I couldn't find my keys." "I didn't mean for Ava to." "It's fine," Ethan interrupted softly, standing up. "We've been having a great time." The woman froze, as if surprised by his warmth. She had deep brown skin, dark curls pinned up hastily, and eyes that carried both exhaustion and grace. Her name was Leah. She looked like someone who'd been carrying the world on her shoulders for far too long, yet somehow still stood tall. Ethan had expected this blind date to be awkward. He hadn't expected it to feel real. As they sat down, Leah shot her daughter a gentle look. "Ava, why don't you color for a bit while I talk to Mr. Ethan?" "Yes, ma'am," Ava said, pulling a small notepad and crayons from her bag. The two adults shared a hesitant smile. "So," Leah began, "I guess this isn't exactly how blind dates usually go." Ethan laughed. "I wouldn't know. I've only been on one, and she was late, too." Leah's eyes softened, the tension in her shoulders easing. "You must think I'm a mess." "Actually," he said, looking at her carefully, "I think you're doing your best. And that's kind of rare." Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to respond but wasn't sure how. Instead, she looked at Ava, who was coloring a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. "That's us," Ava announced proudly. "Me, Mommy, and Mr. Ethan." Leah flushed. "Sweetheart, we just met." Ava shrugged. "You always say good people make good friends. He's a good person." Something in Ethan's chest tightened. He hadn't realized how much he'd needed to hear that, from anyone. The evening unfolded with an unexpected ease. They talked about everything: music, childhood dreams, favorite movies. Leah told him she worked as a nurse, mostly night shifts, and that it was hard but she loved helping people. Ethan told her he worked in architecture but had been taking time off since his wife passed 2 years ago. There was a moment of silence after that, a heavy, respectful kind of quiet. "I'm sorry," Leah said gently. He nodded. "It's okay. I still miss her. But I think she'd want me to find happiness again." Leah smiled, small but sincere. "Then maybe this is the start of that." By the time dessert came, Ava was half asleep in her chair, her bunny tucked under her chin. Leah started to apologize again, but Ethan shook his head. "Don't," he said. "You've had enough nights full of apologies, I think." She blinked, as if he'd seen right through her. When they walked out into the cool night air, Ethan offered to help carry Ava, but Leah gently refused. "She's heavier than she looks, but I've got her," she said, adjusting the sleeping child in her arms. "Single mom muscles." Ethan smiled. "Then maybe next time I can carry the bunny." Leah paused, her eyes meeting his under the soft glow of the streetlight. "Next time, if you want there to be one," he said simply. She hesitated, then nodded, her smile tender and cautious. "I think I'd like that. A few weeks later, Ethan found himself waiting again. Same table, same candle, but this time, it wasn't loneliness that filled the space. When Leah arrived, she wasn't rushing. She walked in calm, confident, holding Ava's hand. The little girl spotted him first. "Mr. Ethan," she called out, running up to him. "I brought you something." She handed him a crayon drawing, a new one. It was the same 3 stick figures, but this time, there was a house behind them. "That's our house," she said proudly. "For when you come visit." Leah groaned playfully. "Ava, we talked about." Ethan laughed. "It's beautiful. Thank you." That night, conversation came even easier. They talked about simple things, favorite foods, silly habits, Ava's school play, but underneath it all, something deeper was growing. Trust, connection, the quiet recognition that sometimes, the best things come when you've stopped expecting them. When Ethan finally walked them to their car, Leah turned to him, her eyes warm. "You know," she said softly, "I almost canceled that date. I thought, what's the point? No one wants to deal with a woman who has baggage." He reached out, gently tucking a loose curl behind her ear. "Leah," he said, "you're not baggage. You're the whole story." She exhaled shakily, her eyes glistening. "And what about Ava? She comes with me." Ethan smiled, looking at the little girl asleep in the back seat. "Then she's part of the story too." It was the first time in years he felt the quiet certainty of belonging somewhere again. Months passed. Seasons shifted. What began as an awkward blind date slowly became a rhythm of shared mornings, small laughter, and little hands tugging at his sleeve. Ethan never tried to replace anyone, he just showed up. For Leah, for Ava, for the life that had found him by accident but stayed by choice. One evening, as they sat together in the park watching the sunset, Ava climbed onto Ethan's lap and held up another drawing. This time, it wasn't stick figures. She'd tried to draw them for real, Ethan in his blue shirt, Leah beside him, her curly hair in a bun, and herself holding their hands. Above them were the words, written in crayon, "My family." Leah looked at him, tears in her eyes. "She drew that all by herself," she whispered. Ethan swallowed hard. "Then I guess she already knows what we're becoming." Leah took his hand, squeezing it gently. "I think I do too." For a moment, none of them spoke. The world around them seemed to slow, the golden light wrapping around their small trio like a quiet promise. Life, Ethan realized, wasn't about perfect beginnings or clean stories. It was about the unexpected, about walking into an empty seat and finding something you didn't know your heart was waiting for. The little girl had said, "My mommy's sorry she's late." But maybe, just maybe, she'd been right on time.